Looking for Thursday night football, best bets, game breakdown, and expert injury analysis? Well, my friends, you've come to the right spot. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of IDP Plus Bets. What is up, folks? I'm your host, the DGen Doc, and it's Thursday, so you know what that means. We're talking Thursday night football. We're talking game breakdown, injury analysis, and of course, giving out my best bets for tonight's game. And we've got another good one. We've got an AFC North showdown. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at 8-2, heading to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns, who are only sitting at 2-8. Now, I know what you're thinking. I mean, we've got an 8-2 team against a 2-8 team. How could this possibly be a good game? It's AFC North football. It's always going to be a close matchup. That's why the spread right now, Pittsburgh only laying 3.5 as road favorites. Obviously, Cleveland catching 3.5 the other way. Money line, Pittsburgh minus 198. The Browns plus 164. Over under at 36.5. Obviously, a low number. Maybe some weather tonight, which we will definitely talk about a little bit later. But that's the reason for the low total. Actually, let's talk about the weather right from the top here. Let's pull this up. So, shout out to Nick Farbar, who's at the game. So, it is going to be a snow game, it appears. Let's see, make sure y'all can see that. So, it is snowing in Cleveland currently. However, he does say right after the snow is not overwhelming right now. And the winds are sitting between 12, 15 miles as it stands. Consider it's consistent, but it's light. So, this is a situation where I think we're going to get a little bit of value here on the number and on some of these props, because I think people are really going to be, this is going to be a super big weather game where, someone who's there at the stadium right now saying, hey, it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Usually wind has a pretty big effects on not only the kicking game, but obviously the deep passing game, which, Russell Wilson and his moon balls. But if it's not above 20, that's kind of that 20 miles per hour gust mark is really kind of the litmus test there. So staying closer to the 15 should be all right. So I know there was some kind of, every time we get snow, especially an ugly Thursday night game, everyone kind of freaks out a little bit, but it seems like that's not going to be the case tonight. So I think that's actually an opportunity. I'll get to this a little bit later where we may have a little more points and a little bit more offensive action than the books are actually thinking. All right, let's look at the injuries first, as I always like to do. Let's start with those Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 8-2. Nice thing about tonight's game, the injury reports are pretty cut and dry. We really don't have to wait for any inactives. There's no one questionable. It's either you're out or you're in. So that's pretty nice. On the Steelers side, still no Alex Highsmith dealing with an ankle injury. I do expect him back next week. They said about 2 to 3 weeks. Said it was more the low ankle sprain, grade 2. That's about a 2 to 4 week recovery. So he should have, good amount of time off the mini bye. So not this week, but optimistic for next week. And then their second-year cornerback, Corey Trice, he was still on IR. He had some full practices. There was a chance he was going to go, but they're still going to sit him for another week. So I would also be optimistic there. I mean, he's been having those full practices. Obviously, doesn't take a rocket scientist. Good sign. Good to go. Joey Porter Jr., who was in and out of the game. He had a shin contusion, which is essentially a shin bruise, a bruise to the shin bone. But he was in and out, but ultimately was able to finish the game as he made that final stop on Lamar Jackson with whatever that horrendous play call was from the Baltimore Ravens. So on the Browns side of the ball, they've got some more injury news. I mean, the Steelers, no Alex Highsmith, but they get back Herbig. They've signed Preston Smith. I think they're able to kind of weather that storm. On the Browns side, they're still their leader in the defensive end, linebacker Joke. He is still on the IR dealing with a neck injury, so he's still going to be gone. And then really the big situation is their left tackle situation. DeJuan Jones had a fractured ankle last game. He had to be carted off. His season is done. He's on the IR. Left tackle Jedrick Willis, who was coming back from a significant knee injury, he's kind of been in and out of the lineup. He picked up an injury in week 3 when he returned. He's was able to play some. He's just been banged up. He's not going to be able to go. So the Cleveland Browns are going to be playing their third string left tackle. Their left tackle number 3 against this vaunted Pittsburgh Steelers pass rush. And this is already an offensive line who's given up 46 sacks on the year. And now, units that's been mixed and matched and beat up all year. Now they got to lean on their third string left tackle. That does not spell the best of news there. All right, let's think about how I think this game is going to go. Now, I think it is very simple to see the Steelers are playing really well. 8-2, obviously. They're going to go into Cleveland, a 2-8 team, and just kind of stomp all over them. I don't think it's going to be that easy. So, sitting at 3.5, I could absolutely see this being a field goal game. I mean, in my head, I'm like, I think the Steelers either come in and they steamroll them, but that's just not AFC North football. I could definitely see this being a field goal game. So, actually, the spread for me, I'm going to stay away. I do like the over, though. I do think there's going to be a little bit more points. Sitting at 36.5 right now, over 36.5, minus 112 over on DraftKings. I do think there's going to be some points. I think that people are falling into that a little bit too much, cold, a little bit of snow, some potential wind in AFC North. A couple of things. This Pittsburgh Steelers offense, I know they had their field goal kicking Chris Boswell extravaganza last week against Baltimore, but this Pittsburgh offense has been able to move the ball with Russell Wilson in the backfield there at quarterback. So I expect them to be able to continue that. And the other thing is this Cleveland Browns defense, which was once, a very stout unit, particularly at home. That's not really the case anymore. I mean, you don't have Joke out there. They traded away Jadarius Smith. They got rid of Amari Cooper. I mean, when they were playing the Saints last week, the Saints coming off a little bit of an interim coaching bump, they had them in a prime position for a letdown spot, and the Browns just did not show up, especially on defense. I mean, look, Taysom Hill is a good player, but to let Taysom Hill run for 75 yards and 3 touchdowns, 75 yards was on one play. I mean, that's just poor tackling. That's poor effort. So I have some concerns on the effort. And then you've got Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is the epitome of variance, epitome of a risk taker. I mean, he's either going to throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, or he's going to throw 2 touchdowns to their team. I mean, shit, he might do it all in the same game. So I don't understand. I think you got a Pittsburgh offense that is doing pretty well against the Browns defense that is just not the same. And I think you got Jameis Winston on the other side, whether it's turnovers or whether it's the deep ball. I think he gets us there. So give me the over there. All right, some of these other plays that I do like. Give me Najee Harris, 80-plus rushing yards at plus 105. Najee Harris, although he's not hit this number in the past 2 games, he does have 18-plus carries in the last 4 games. And this is a Browns defense that's given up 132 yards on the ground and 4.8 yards per carry. So almost 5 yards per rush. So obviously, if he gets close to his load there as far as his carries, getting over that 15 mark, he's going to be there at the 80. So I do like Najee there. I also like Nick Chubb on the other side. I like the rushing game to get going a little bit for both teams. Nick Chubb, pretty simply, for those that forget, this is the Nick Chubb revenge angle. Last time we saw that these two teams playing each other, unfortunately, Nick Chubb was carted off. I'm going to get this picture off because it's I had to bring it up just because remind everybody, if it matters to us, it definitely matters to Nick Chubb. I think he's going to have a little bit extra motivation. It's already a rival. And he's been looking pretty good coming off that ACL, MCL tear, ACL plus. He's been getting better each week. And, he averaged 4 yards a rush last game. I expect the Browns to keep it close enough to where they don't completely abandon the run like they did against New Orleans. So I think he gets his opportunities. And yes, Pittsburgh is a pretty stout rush defense, but you can run on them. Giving up 91 yards a game, I think sometimes teams tend to get away from it. I think the Browns understand if they let Jameis throw the ball 50 times, probably not the best recipe. Hey, we might get some points one way or the other, but that's probably not. The Browns are definitely going to want to see if they can slow this game down and grind it out. Now, the other guys on offense that I am going to target, I'm going to go Russell Wilson, 200-plus passing yards at plus 110. I like his ladder. I'm going to take him all the way up. 275 passing yards is all the way at 10-1. Look, he's only had less than 200 yards in one game. He missed it by 5 yards against the Commanders. Again, I talked about this Browns defense. Greg Newsome was coming in a little bit beat up. Denzel Ward also had a rib injury. He was a little bit beat up on the injury report. I know they're going to play, but still, you're already beat up. You're already losing guys kind of left and right on that defense. I know Myles Garrett is going to be he's got some extra motivation, but you don't have Zadarius Smith. You lost one of your 2 big pass rushers. I think Russell Wilson's going to be able to get off here a little bit. Again, I talked about the weather. I'm not buying into the weather hype. I think he's going to be able to definitely get over 200. And then, I think he has a shot to get closer to 300, obviously, with the 275. I think that's worth a sprinkle. I will be on Russell Wilson passing yards ladder. And then David Njoku. The Pittsburgh Steelers have struggled with the tight end. I mean, Brock Bowers went for 90 yards. Zach Ertz was able to get off on him a little bit. So this is a position where I'm going to take him 50-plus receiving yards at plus 130. He's had 7 targets in his last 5 games. Jameis obviously feels comfortable, whether it's a dump off or getting him the ball down the field. Again, those linebackers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are susceptible against decent tight ends. I think Njoku is still one of the primary receivers. I obviously expect a little bit more points than, the book does. So I think he's able to get to the 50-plus yards. I don't mind his ladders as well. Now on the defensive side, because it's IDP plus, baby. Of course, we're talking defense. I'm going to go to some sack props. And I put this out a little bit earlier, and the line hasn't changed too much. But look, I mean, I already talked about it. The Browns are putting out their left tackle number 3. Now, of course, everyone's going to jump to TJ Watt props. It was like minus 155, then minus 165. So I think it's at minus 175. That's too much for me. Do I think TJ Watt has a good chance to have a sack? Sure, but I'm not going to lay almost 2-1 for that to happen. He's only got 7.5 on the season. So there's a chance he doesn't. I think he's got a good chance to, but I'm not taking the minus 175. He also lines up over the right tackle. So who lines up over the left tackle? That is Nick Herbig. Again, was coming back from injury from his hamstring. He's no Alex Highsmith. He's going to get plenty of rush opportunities. The Browns have given up 46 sacks, and now they're playing with their third-string left tackle. I think it is going to be a party in the backfield for the Steelers defensive line. So I really like Nick Herbig over a quarter of a sack at plus 145. That's my favorite play. But I also will be on Cam Hayward over a quarter of a sack at plus 145 as well. And give me Larry Ogunjobi as a little bit of a revenge angle. Notably started his career in Cleveland, played there for several years. He's sitting at plus 360 to get a sack there. So again, third string left tackle, giving up 46 sacks on the year. And I think the Steelers are going to have a little bit of a sack party tonight. So I'm going to take 3 guys, but I do like Nick Herbig the best at plus 145. All right, I got to give you some anytime touchdown sprinkles because I love it. I'm going all tight ends today. I think, Thursday night, a little bit of cold weather. I think we hit the big guy over the middle. Give me David Njoku plus 300, 3-1 for one of their top targets to get in the end zone. I think that's mispriced. I also think Freiermuth plus 360. Ever since Russell Wilson's gotten involved, he's been using the tight ends a little bit more. So I like that. And then my sprinkle is Darnell Washington 6-1. We all saw Russ try to get it to him, and it winded up in an interception. He's a huge target. I mean, the guy is massive. To use him in the red zone, they've been using a lot of those play action boots. So, everyone thinks they're going to just jam it up with Najee Harris inside the 2 for them to fake that Russell boot out, Darnell, pause, have a little hesitation block and then run out to the flat. Not to call my own shot there, but those are the 3 guys I like to take a stab at the anytime touchdown market. So look, I think there's going to be a little more points. I'm on both the running backs. I think Russell Wilson's passing yards are worth the ladder opportunity. And Njoku in receiving and Steelers sack party. Yeah, that is pretty much it, folks. Hey, every Thursday I am breaking down the Thursday night game, going live for you guys here, doing game breakdown, expert injury analysis, and of course giving out my best bets, my actionable information. Hope you have been cashing with me this season. So I hope to see you next week. And if you like what you hear, I am always giving out my 6 favorite offensive props for the NFL week. So that episode, NFL Week 12 Best Bets, will be released tomorrow. So look out for that on the YouTube. All right, folks, from the DGen Doc here on IDP Plus Networks. I appreciate hanging. I appreciate y'all hanging with me. Let's enjoy some nice AFC North football. And remember, folks, if you're tailing, good luck. And if not, what are you doing? All right, from the DGen Doc, I am out of here.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.